So, um, a lot of people might have made this cognitive leap about me if you've known me for long enough, but I'm actually a huge perfectionist. And just like with the workaholism and such, uh, wait, what am I trying to say? Basically, like, I'm a huge workaholic, but some people don't realize that because I'm also very social and very bubbly and not very high strung when it comes to interacting with people. So in a similar vein, no one realizes I'm really a huge perfectionist because I can be kind of sloppy and easygoing, but in reality, it's all a facade in some ways. I am a huge perfectionist. I really want everything to be, you know, perfect, I guess, like as is. And so that means that when I get criticism, I'm not necessarily going to react in a way that's very visible, where, like, I basically decided, like, a long time ago that I didn't want to be a sensitive person. And so it's taken a long time to train myself into, like, not internalizing this into really negative or pessimistic thinking and to keep extremely calm no matter how the other person is framing it, so I can hear them out and separate maybe their bias versus if they have a valid thing that I should work on. But it's hard because I hate hearing that people are unhappy with me. I fear that they're judging me. But even though I'm afraid of that, I know it's even more important to hear them out calmly. I've learned just throughout, I guess, years of, I mean, I haven't lived for that long, but I analyze people a lot, kind of in my spare time. This is with contemporary events, with my relationships, with even just sitting in a coffee shop by myself and listening to conversations. I process a lot of my feelings up here, and I've learned that it seems that the common thread is the human brain doesn't know if something is good or bad for us. It just only can process what feels good or feels bad in a moment. So that's what I try to remember with my reactions a lot. That I just feel bad right now, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It is bad. It could just be a really great lesson. So from this, I tend to bounce back really quickly. And people get suspicious and think that I'm, like, repressing things, when really I just gave it so much thought, and because my brain moves really quickly, that I already got over it. Like, which might have taken you maybe longer, which isn't a bad thing, because there's other things that I suck at. Like, I'm by no means perfect. I think perfectionists are more aware of how not perfect they are. And I'm just trying to learn to, like, give myself credit for things I've done, which I'm really bad about. And every single thing that you honestly and calmly and logically tell me is only going to help me. And there's been many instances, and I would say most of the time, where no matter how maybe butthurt I am initially, I will hear you out. I will try not to raise my voice. If you pick up emotion from me, please don't yell at me for having feelings about your criticism, because chances are I'm doing my best, and I will trust that you are too. That being said, I really want to kind of vent about something that's been bothering me for the past day or so, and it pertains to an old acquaintance friend of mine. So here's a real example of me reacting to a criticism that literally happened, like, yesterday. So last night, she had an episode of, I guess, mental health, which is linked to a clinical disorder that I'm not going to talk about. I don't really want to say who she is. But, well, she attacked me and said that she didn't believe that I was a fraction as intelligent as I like to think I was, and she could tell that I was all high and mighty about it. It was really obvious and off-putting to most people. So this comment was very specific and cut very deep. I mean, I guess this comment would affect anyone, but for me, I struggle all the time with even, like, believing if it's true or not. Most of the time I assume everyone's criticism about me is 100% valid, to the point where I don't even want to defend myself if I believe otherwise because maybe I'm delusional and everyone else sees the world super clearly. This is kind of my default way of thinking that I've had to train myself to not, like, just go off of that. But I think that it's, like, it was extra hard to hear this, because one thing I really, really pride myself on, ironically pride myself on, is being humble. And, I am never self-righteous about anything, so this came out of nowhere because I've gotten a recurring, types of criticisms over the years that I predict, like, pretty well, but this, I was totally floored. So I took some deep breaths, calmed down, made sure I didn't lash out, and told her in my typical straightforward way with conflict that my issue was with her, how she was saying it, not the fact that she thought that about me. And I also made it very clear that I would love to talk about it constructively, but I did acknowledge that I was hurt, And then, like, a few hours later, she, like, apologized and blamed it on her mental illness, which, to be fair, the way she had said it was very harsh and different than how she is usually. But I could also tell it wasn't going to be a real conversation, even though I've picked up that I think she does think that way about me. But I'm not gonna, I just didn't really talk to anyone at length about this, besides kind of, like, mentioning it to, like, maybe one or two people that it happened. But I didn't go into details or even elaborate much. It just, it's not gonna serve me. All I know that anyone is going to do is tell me that she's jealous of me or to forget it because it's not true, but that's not the point here. It's not going to make me feel better to get, like, this artificial validation. Like, I just don't find a lot of use in talking about things where no one's going to have anything interesting or insightful to talk about. Like, this is why I don't talk shit on people, even if they do fucked up things to me, or if they do say criticism that I don't know how to take right away, because a lot of my loved ones tend to just get protective, and that's not what I'm looking for. I want someone to tell me something new, like, tell me something unique about, like, yeah, I don't know. So I didn't talk it out with anyone. I didn't really see the point. So, because this is a recurring theme with things that bother me, I guess maybe it's, like, that I secretly think that a lot of people don't really have the authority to comment on the situation, and trying to talk about it with them is just going to make them feel awkward and make them go through emotional labor that I don't feel comfortable with putting them through. So this is why I turn to writing so much, and I guess now, based on the pattern, I'm going to start making vlogs about it. For me, it's really about reflecting on what these situations mean to me. This event really hurt me deeply, and it wasn't necessarily because she was really close to me, or that I was even surprised that she, like, is the type to lash out a little bit. But, I've spent a lot of my life trying to not gaslight myself about being an intense and emotional person, and sometimes not knowing how that comes off. And another big thing is I really resent how I have to try really hard to maintain logic, and that I don't live my life based on a complex structure of inner truth that means something to me. So people question a lot of the times why I'm doing something, but I'll react to them sounding condescending about it and then not want to tell them, and then that makes me look more illogical. This consistent pattern that I've noticed I do is just every single time someone criticizes me related to it, it just cuts deep. And then I go back into when I was younger and thinking about if I'm even smart, because I don't have this, like, deep set sense. And, whether I can help it or not, I feel really fucking bad about myself after that, and I know it's going to go away because I'm really making sure that I don't go down a rabbit hole, and making this video is part of that. But, I know that these emotions were already there. Every single time I'm hurt by something, it's just really an echo of another emotion that's triggering me. Like, I'm sure I awakened the same in her to act like that, and I can't blame anyone for anything but their actions. I'm never going to blame someone for how they feel as long as they maybe tell me in a constructive way. I'm pretty good at guessing the roots, though, but I still like to have dialogue, and robbing me of the ability to have that dialogue is kind of the worst pain you can inflict. even if I do understand you otherwise. But I mean, I still put up with it because people deserve more than, feeling more shame. Like, there's already so much in the world that's fucked up that's gonna make you feel ashamed. You're gonna learn the wrong lessons if, like, your dad wasn't there, or, like, the kids at school bullied you a lot and stuff. This is why I forgive people before they deserve it. They have much more going on that they need to worry about than dealing with me. That's not to say I'm putting up with shit, but I separate them. Like, there's stuff that I'm processing on my own, and you don't have to hear me literally give you my monologue of my issues with you, unless it's very clear-cut and specific, and we can work on it as something to move forward with, changing. But, like, for me, though, sometimes I do have to wonder, like, what good is it to try for good when it seems like it's not enough? This is, like, a question so many people in our country are asking today. And the last thing I want to do is add to the collective hopelessness we already feel, because it really hurts when others don't cooperate, and the least I can do is do my part. But, I try not to victimize myself, but these days I'm feeling much, much more emotionally vulnerable than I ever have. Not just because of what I've been through in the past year, but also, like, I'm about to move out, I'm about to not be, like, employed. There's a lot to handle, and it reminds me of how so grateful I am for the people that do have the heart and willingness to talk things out calmly, trying to refrain from accusations, taking their responsibility. It's always better that way, and even if you do that, even if it's not, like, a very smooth conversation, maybe if we butt heads, still, the act of doing that in of itself is enough to make me see your good intent, your good heart, make me forgive you authentically, not just because I'm trying to brush something under the rug, and put the past behind us and move forward, because you're much more than just this temporary conflict between us. But, like, still, it doesn't always work out. I had a conflict with someone here in Minnesota, like a good friend of mine who I thought I could trust, but then I guess he had some unresolved feelings toward me that, to be frank, he dealt with very poorly by, like, talking shit and then, like, I don't know, proceeding to ignore me to the point where we're not even on good terms enough now to say goodbye. And he has completely, I guess, been unresponsive. And I'm sure that he cares about me, and I care about him a ton, but I guess this is an illustration of why people's silence triggers me. Maybe I get people wrong because I judge them for if they can't respond well to my offer to straightforwardly communicate. But I guess just observing people admit defeat rather than work things out or be honest no matter how unpleasant it is, that makes me, like, jump to conclusions, and I really try to refrain from that in the name of, my own sanity. But, like, I don't want to give up on people or taint the energy of a relationship by being hateful, but it really does suck. Even if, you don't have the energy at a moment, but you will later, like, even saying something is better than nothing. But, like, I don't know. I try my best to, like, logically validate to myself what's going on, and not just think about all the times people have called me stupid over the years or misunderstood me because I so strongly value emotional communication. And it wasn't even that because this girl said I wasn't intelligent. It was also that she thought I was high and mighty about it. Like, I really try to separate that. I don't take shit from people when they do bad actions, but I'm also trying to make sure I 100% understand them. And maybe if I come off aggressive that way because, like, I call things out when other people would just let them go but then bitch about it forever to their friends, or, like, internalize it and then someday write a mean think piece on, like, Cosmo. Like, I believe in preventing the problem before it gets worse, and maybe people aren't used to that from me, or used to that from, like, anyone, but that's kind of the healthier way to go. I'm not, like, perfect either, I'm not, like, 100% an angel, but, you can talk things out, and you can criticize each other in a very emotionally validating way. And maybe not a lot of people have learned the proper way to do that, including myself, because, things still aren't 100% right. But yeah, I would much rather, just nip things in the bud, address the issue in the moment instead of letting it fester. But even so, I'm not going to judge anyone who doesn't do it that way. I'm just going to be sad because I miss them and I want to work things out with this conflict. But, otherwise, it's fine. I just, I want people to take responsibility and not, shy away from these straightforward conversations and not overly justify what they're doing. If someone says, hey, I'm sad because you did this thing, don't try to talk about your triggers. I'm trying to work on that too. This is all philosophical. In practice, I would say I'm only up to maybe 85% execution, but I have a long ways to go. Life to live, so it's fine. But either way, I know that when I'm emotional, even if I'm just a small thing, being kind of more negligent with warmth, anything I say will be used against me. Court of law be damned, even in the future. So I always know that even if I'm upset because I was criticized or upset because I'm not in the wrong but the other person is, what I say is 100% serious, and I want someone to face me with authenticity too. And prevent future blowouts. Have at least all of our arguments be interesting and unique. So, yeah. That is my rant on reacting to criticism. And making sure that you don't learn the wrong lesson if you don't 100% try to be as open-minded as you can and to have faith that the other person is going to be there for you too. So, yeah.